Hi, I'm Joe Heath.
I'm Toni Heath.
And this is the Watch-A-Thon of Rassilon.
Yes, it is. It is that.
5 episodes in. I think we're doing pretty good. I was kind of afraid we wouldn't be able to get this far. But
really?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh.
I didn't trust you.
Me either. I thought you had faith, though.
I kind of thought that maybe I would just start doing these myself.
Oh.
And no, I'm just joking.
Are you, though?
I love you.
Are you?
No, I didn't want to do it alone.
You didn't want to.
I was prepared to.
That's probably fair. I mean, we're only 5 episodes in. Give it 5 more.
Let's finish the season. That's... And let's see if we get into season 2. That's going to be the real test.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
What episode did we watch?
We are going to talk today about the Keys of Marinus.
It was a good one.
Which is the 5th serial of the first season. Consists of the episodes The Sea of Death, The Velvet Web, The Screaming Jungle, The Snows of Terror, which is my favorite. Sentence of Death, not my favorite one, just favorite title. Sentence of Death and The Keys of Marinus, the titular episode.
Ooh, since you brought it up, can we talk about the titles of Doctor Who episodes and how ridiculous they are and how much I love them?
Yes, it's generally the frightening adjective, noun, or the adjective of noun.
Right, and usually the noun is cave.
Yeah.
Because I think we're 5 episodes in, and 4 of those have had caves.
Yeah, serials.
Well, yes.
Not episodes.
For the serials.
Episode ratio is probably a lot lower, but serial ratio.
And the only reason why there wasn't one in this one is because it's a bottle episode, right?
You mean the... Oh, yeah.
The only one where there isn't a cave in the one we're talking about now.
There's a cave in the one we're talking about now.
Oh my god, I'm so confused.
We did Edge of Destruction 3 podcasts ago.
I know, but I just put it on the blog, and now I'm confused.
Toni, do you experience time like a normal person?
No, I don't, and it's very confusing for me all the time. I have to keep like a daily log of everything I do at work, and it's the hardest thing for me because I'm like, I don't understand how things that should have taken me an hour took me 3 minutes, and things that should have taken me 3 minutes take me an hour, and I don't understand time.
She was amazing. Okay, so I can tell you guys this. Today, because we record these ahead of, when you guys hear them, obviously, she was working on getting the post for Edge of Destruction ready today. And last night is when we watched the Keys of Marinus. And she's like, I want to make the title card this image from Keys of Marinus. And I'm like, Toni, we haven't even recorded that podcast yet. We're doing Edge of Destruction.
And now I think we're recording Edge of Destruction because everything confuses me. What are we talking about?
We're talking about a time travel show, so you should be good.
You should cut all of this.
No, this is fun. This is good.
No,
This
it's
is what people are tuning in to hear, is us babble about our fun lives.
What?
Oh, and maybe Doctor Who. So yeah, let's talk about the Keys of Marinus.
The Keys of Marinus, which does have a cave, and the Edge of Destruction didn't have a cave, because it was a bottle episode.
Yes, the Edge of Destruction took place entirely in the TARDIS, so there was
no cave. But every other one so far has had a cave. That's the important part.
Yeah, Unearthly Child, Cave of Skulls, the Daleks, the cave that they went into for no reason.
That didn't have a scary name.
I mean, it was just the cave. It was called Back of the Daleks, or something like that. Behind the Daleks. Place next to the lake.
The Daleks.
The third one, which is Edge of Destruction, no cave. Marco Polo, the Cave of 500 Eyes. And it's always the cave of something.
Did this cave have an adjective?
You know what? It didn't. In my head, I called it the Cave of Keys.
In my head, I called it the Cave of Cardboard and Cellophane.
Yeah, but I mean, if it was going to be an official name on the show, it would be like Cave of Keys.
It would not be Cave of Keys.
Or it'd be Cave of Key.
Because Cave of Keys is not, like, threatening enough.
The Cave of Nights.
Still not threatening enough, I feel like. It would have to be like the Cave of Destruction. Or the Cave of Death.
There's 2 episodes in this of Death, Sea of Death and Sentence of Death. So Cave of Death would have actually fit the pattern a little better. Okay, so let's get to talking about this episode, which is written by Terry Nation, who previously wrote The Daleks. I say that this is probably a little more entertaining than The Daleks. I mean, The Daleks is good, but drops off.
This was really fun to watch the whole way through. Part of that is because it's all over the place, and that really works.
From what I heard, or I read this on Wikipedia. There was another serial planned, and it was kind of problematic, so they dropped it and like write something that we can film easily. And so that's why they're sort of like self-contained episodes, and the cast splits up. So they also had to give Hartnell some time off.
In my experience, in the 5 episodes that we've watched so far, the episodes that are like, oh,
serials.
The serials where they're like, oh shit, something's gone wrong and we'll have to make something up like completely new, have been the best ones. That was kind of the case with Edge of Destruction, right?
Yeah, they needed another episode, so they just
made one, and it was like by far the most entertaining episode that we had so far. And this one is kind of, I guess, thrown together. You're watching it and you're like, this is one of the more, I wouldn't say solidly written, but I would say entertaining.
Yeah, it's a little sloppy, and the plot is kind of ridiculous. Each episode they jump from one location to the next to get, it's a quest episode, and each episode they go to like a different place, I guess, on the planet.
I think it was on the planet.
Because that's what I was about to say, like, none of these places seem similar at all. So it's some of them
don't even seem like they're in the same time.
And some of it feels just like Earth. Like, I mean, specifically the Caves of Terror one felt like Earth.
What was the cliffhanger? You remember these things.
I don't think there was a cliffhanger last time. It starts cliffhanger free. Like, Marco Polo ends with them just shooting off.
Oh, it ends with one of the first fadeaways of the TARDIS, right? Is that the ending or is that the beginning?
That's the beginning. I don't know if it's the ending.
Marco Polo, we don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, the ending of Marco Polo doesn't exist visually.
That's why we don't remember it.
Yeah. I don't think it's the first dematerialization. I think that happened in the first. And I think it happened in the Daleks.
I think it's the first where they used the little bitty one.
Well, they used the little bitty one in the Unearthly Child. Very first one. Remember the caveman? Because we kept talking about how tiny the TARDIS looked.
Yeah, they used it in that shot, but... I
think it materialized. I don't remember. Maybe. So this could be the first time the TARDIS materialized or dematerialized.
We don't know.
We can't trust Tony's memory.
I don't know how time works or what day it is or what podcast we're on.
Anyway, back to the Edge of Destruction.
Is that what we're doing?
No, we're doing the Keys of Marinus. The Keys of Marinus.
This is going poorly.
Let's talk about the Sea of Death. We start, there is a minute, I think this TARDIS looks tinier than the TARDIS that was in Unearthly Child, at least. It may or may not be the first materialization or not. I don't remember.
It definitely, I was definitely smaller.
It was definitely smaller.
That is a thing that I trust, that I remember.
And they try to be a little more, it just doesn't appear. They show this entire, island with a pyramid thing on it. Zoom in, then it appears. So it's like, we put a camera move in that, even though...
I was kind of impressed by it, to be honest.
Well, I mean, the camera wasn't moving when it materialized, but there was a camera move immediately before it,
and it materialized.
Yeah, materialized.
That's impressive.
Yeah, they faded one shot over the other.
I'm impressed. What happens?
They wish they had color TV.
I guess they're just randomly going places now as the Doctor attempts to get back to Earth. I guess that's kind of the deal. And so yeah, they land on this new planet. They're looking at the monitors to make sure. They're so careful in Classic Who. We have to check our surroundings and the atmosphere. Whereas 10 or 11 would already be out licking things by now.
You keep going back to licking things.
10 licks things a lot.
Rose?
I mean, probably. I'm not gonna pry. So yeah, and I think it's Ian says something, or is it Ian or is it Barbara?
I think it's Barbara.
Says something about, well, wouldn't it be nice if you had color TVs? And the Doctor's like, I do! And then he says something unintelligible. We
listened to it 3 times and he's still not entirely sure what he said. But it was basically, I have a color TV, but I don't.
But it's not, it's in my other TARDIS.
Yeah, it's broken. It's out of Mercury.
I like the Doctor being like, I have impressive be impressed by me. I have science.
Him getting frustrated is the best thing that Hartnell does.
He's really good at it.
His little temper tantrums are amazing.
So they land on this planet.
They land while they're talking and stuff. Also, the Doctor says a blooper. I don't remember what it is, but I pointed out. I don't know what the blooper is, but I will say this serial has the most amount of fumbling over lines so far. Not terribly bad, but people I'll finish my line now. They'll stumble. Yeah. Especially towards the end of the serial. But this serial's bad about it. I don't know why. But yeah, anyway, while they're talking and bloopering, these ships pull up on the island. And they're
adorable!
They're very clearly little toy submarines.
They look like they were Nerf darts that were taken apart and put back together.
Yeah, they're like see-through.
They're just super, super cute.
They very awkwardly beach themselves. Like they're being pulled on a string. Like, it doesn't look natural at all.
Oh, and so they're exploring it's a beach is where they are. And Susan immediately finds something to scream at. Which is, they're on this beach.
Oh, before we get to that...
Can we talk about the glass?
Yeah, that's about to say, the glass. They put it deliberately.
They're on this beach, and there's sand, but then closer to the water, there's glass. Which is not an uncommon occurrence, sea glass. It's a thing that happens, but the doctor picks it up. Ian is like, yeah, that must be, formed here somehow. That's pretty neat. And the doctor's like, or maybe someone put it here on purpose.
Which, it's never cleared up whether or not it is on purpose. I mean, I think you're supposed to think it is. Because it's supposed to be like a defense mechanism.
Oh, thing. Because the whole ocean, or sea, it's a sea, it's acid.
Susan's like, I'm gonna dip my toes in the water, and then, my shoes are melted.
Oh, Susan. Bless.
Then she's like missing a boot, so Ian takes his boots off, gives them to Susan so she can go back and get some more boots.
And then the cutest thing happens. The doctor comes back, I guess, from playing with glass. Ian and Barbara tell the doctor what happened, and he looks at Ian and he goes, well, if you had thought to put your shoes on, you could have given her yours. Stupid Ian, you're so dumb.
Coming out here on this glass beach without no shoes on? What are you thinking, Ian?
And Ian and Barbara just laugh at him because that's all you can do.
Oh, speaking of Ian's attire, Ian is still wearing his
get-up from...
Marco Polo.
Whatever the podcast was before.
The podcast? The episode, yeah.
The episode? Don't you mean
cereal?
Oh, what?
Yes, Ian is wearing his little pullover Chinese thing from Marco Polo.
It's happened a lot. It's something that I really like because he wears it. This is what? How many episodes? 5? 6?
He wears it
the entire thing, and that's kind of nice to have that carryover, even though it's still very episodic. There you have this reminder of that was the episode before.
Cereal.
Damn it!
I mean, and also this is actually our first time seeing it in movement. We didn't see how well it flowed around his body.
Barbara had Thal clothes on.
Yeah, Barbara had Thal clothes on.
In Edge of Destruction.
Edge of Destruction, yeah. In this episode, she's just wearing this kind of ugly
You take that back.
It's like a turtleneck sweater.
She looks so teacherly. She looks like every elementary teacher I've ever had.
Susan's outfit isn't doing her any favors either. Part of that though is her posture. She does this weird I'm a child. I'm scrunching up my shoulders and I'm a little orphan kid. I don't know. That's the body she
okay.
She does this. For you listening, she does this, and then I make a pose.
I don't know if you know, but that's you all the time.
I don't do this all the time.
Yeah.
I don't put my shoulders inside of my ears.
You're a hunchback.
I'm hunched over. I'm not scrunched up. Now people know what I look like.
So they're on the beach. Susan goes back to the TARDIS to get new shoes.
And then she comes out.
She leaves Ian's shoes, by the way. She sets them down next to the TARDIS and then goes wandering off.
Well, she sees footprints.
And she goes to follow him. But it upsets me so much.
And this time the footprints are not just...
Bring the shoes back.
Giant footprints that melted.
They're webbed footprints.
They're like froggy footprints.
Meanwhile... Ian, Barbara, and the doctor are poking around these ships that had pulled up on the beach because they're not theirs and they don't know what they are, so they're gonna touch them a lot.
They pull out
this wetsuit that's empty.
It's either I think
it's the boards, right?
Right, the boards. And I think this is something you were wondering about. You're like, why are they still wearing their things? I don't think they were wearing wetsuits later on. That's what they actually look like. The wetsuit was empty because he got out of it. Not because there was a leak and he died from the acid, which is what they assume.
Wait, what? He got out of it? Who got out of it?
The Vord that's following Susan around.
Oh, you mean that's... Oh.
Yeah, this is going to kill some of your thoughts later on, but we'll mention how wrong you are later.
Alright.
I mean, I don't know. You might not be wrong. It may be. So either the person wearing the wetsuit got out and they look weird, or they're constantly wearing the wetsuits.
Because, you actually see the creatures later, and they have the whole wetsuit get-up on, and they never take it off. And it bothered me slightly, because I turned to Joe and I was like, that would be like wearing scuba gear, like, unnecessarily, for days at a time.
Yeah.
Or that's what the creatures look like. And I'm not certain which one it's supposed to be, and it's not really clear in the episode.
Yeah, they think, like, there was a hole in the wetsuit and the acid destroyed the body. Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know which it is. It could be either. Let's go with let's just assume
that's
that
what
they're
look
wearing...
like.
That's what they look... I was going to say...
Because they're wearing the wetsuit.
Because that's funnier.
So, while that's happening on the beach, Susan's following footprints, and then...
She goes up to, like, the building, which is, like, the pyramid.
The pyramid.
Thing. And she's, like, walking down this hallway, and there's, like, the Vord, which looks a bit... froggish mixed with, like, Power Ranger.
The Vord looks like a fetish Power Ranger frog.
Yes.
That's what the Vord looks like.
And he's just waiting for Susan to come down the hallway so he can stab her with his little knife.
Oh, yes! This is the cereal of trapdoors.
Yes! The trapdoors of death. But it's hilarious, because he's just waiting and waiting.
It's like a shot forever where she's walking down this corridor towards him, and he is at the end of the corridor with this knife, and he has it raised up, and she's walking down, and you're waiting. You're waiting, and then... The
wall, like, swivels like a Scooby-Doo episode. And he's like, oh! And, like, falls in. He actually doesn't make a noise. But it's absolutely hilarious, because he falls through it.
Yes.
Which, why is he leaning against the wall? But still, it was like...
Because everyone leans against that wall at some point, for no reason. Like, it's the only trap door in the area, and everyone leans on it.
Not one of them goes in there intentionally. It was also like, that scene was like legitimately funny. I did not see it coming.
I don't think I've ever seen that done before. Is like the villain caught by the trapdoor. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
That was great.
But then Susan falls through the trapdoor, and Ian and Barbara and the doctor are kind of like, we should maybe go see where she went.
Frog guy's been stabbed. Who stabbed the frog guy? I don't even remember. But they go in there and like...
The guy, what's his... Marinus. That's his name, right?
No.
What's his
name? Marinus is like
Marinus?
the planet.
Oh.
I think Marinus is the planet.
What's the guy's name then?
The guy's name is Arbatan.
Arbatan, okay. Like, Arbatan walks down the hall and then goes away and then walks back down again for reasons I don't understand.
And by the way, Arbatan is the guy who, like, lives in this pyramid or whatever.
He's the only person there. Everyone else is dead, I guess, or sent away on other missions.
Yeah, they all go in, and they all start fighting the Vords. Hilariously fighting the Vords.
Ian has a fight scene, and it's the slowest, most painful thing ever.
Most of the fight scenes seem to be like, let's grab each other's arms and shuffle a bit.
Although, to be fair, I feel like it's like if you shot me realistically fighting someone else, as opposed to something that was stylized and choreographed, I imagine it would look kind of something like that. Just me, like, weakly pushing on someone else while they weakly push back onto me. Like, they're probably really realistic.
And then we have another trapdoor, but this one goes down, and the Vord gets pushed into this, like...
trapdoor.
This pit. Oh, it's the most hilarious death scene. Just like they threw a toy into, like...
Into, like, a well or, like, a laundry chute.
Yeah. And it just goes...
Ah! It's adorable. It's the most adorable plummet to one's death ever.
I will edit in the sound he made as he fell right here. But yeah, it's absolutely a hilarious fall. And I mean, I guess he fell into the sea of acid death.
Probably. So, Arbatan is all alone on this planet. Well, not on the planet? On the city?
On this island.
Sure. He's all alone. And he has this machine that mind controls people into being good. Which sounds awful.
Yeah. I think it's called the consciousness, right?
The consciousness, and basically he has this spiel about how, we had judges, and I guess they are on other planets then, because they go to another place where they do have judges. Yeah. He said, we used to have judges and all that, and we built a machine to be judges instead. And then we started tinkering with it. And we thought, what if instead of having just this one machine that judges right from wrong, we, like, broadcast this knowledge of right from wrong to everyone and force them to comply with it, which to me is really creepy.
Let's brainwash everyone into being good people.
The doctor and everyone is kind of like, oh, yeah. I mean, at the very, very end of the serial, the doctor just does have this spiel about how, I don't think that this decision of right and wrong is something that should be made by machines, should be left up to machines. I think it's something only humans can do. But it's at the very, very end, and, the only time it's ever really brought up or questioned. Throughout the rest of it, it's kind of like, yeah, this is a good idea.
So they need to turn it back on to brainwash everyone. But they need the keys. There's 5 keys, right?
Yeah, there's 5 keys, and the 5 keys are spread out throughout places.
Well, I think there's only 4 keys spread out. They have the first one right off the bat, I think, maybe. I don't remember. Who knows? I'm just talking.
I don't know.
He says that there's others that have been sent to get the keys and they haven't come back, including his own daughter, right. Arbitan's daughter.
Which, why did they agree to help him again, by the way? They couldn't...
There's a force field around the TARDIS.
Oh, okay, yeah. That seems to be kind of the running thing, is that's we're going to take away your TARDIS until you go on this adventure. Because otherwise, I think the Doctor, as he is now, would not go on any adventures.
And then it's hilarious when they find the force field, because they're mining.
They're terrible at it. The force field is all over the place.
And it's not just enough to be there's a force field around the TARDIS, and then they punch in and go, yeah, they're test all the way around it, because they have to fill time,
because they have to show you everything that happens. So yeah, he basically, it's pretty much the same thing that happens in Marco Polo. I'm gonna hang on to your TARDIS until you help me.
Except this time, there's legitimately no way to get into the TARDIS, whereas last time I was I'm keeping the keys to your TARDIS. Is that cool? Whatever.
Yeah, I guess. So they get, what are they called in the episode? The little
time dials.
They get time dials, which are remarkably similar to what Captain Jack has.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
He's got that wrist, and I wonder if that's kind of what it's based on.
No.
Well, all right, then.
I'm sorry. But yeah, there's coordinates pre-programmed into the wristwatch.
Time dials.
Time dials. And you twist it, and you jump to the next location.
Location of wherever the keys are. So it's a very video game-esque serial.
And to travel, you generally stand in front of this black wall so that they can do the special effect easier. Or we just do a close-up of the watch and then cut back to a wide where they're gone.
It works. So I guess they go to the first location. Is that the end of the Sea of Death? Is them...
They leave, but the Vords are still in Arbitan's thing, and they kill Arbitan, don't they?
Yes.
And he dies hilariously.
I remember it.
I don't remember it either, but I remember it being funny. Because you were like, here's my camp!
That is a defining thing. Why can't I remember it?
Oh, they stabbed him, and he's just oh, and then slowly falls down.
It was more than just awkward stabbing, because I remember being delighted.
It was really bad stabbing, though.
I'm gonna pause this so that I can Google that scene.
Alright, we've watched the clip. The thing that I find funny about it is that he stabs him in the back, and then he turns,
He turns, he does a pirouette.
And, yeah. And slowly falls to his death. But he stabs him in the back. He turns and then starts falling. But the Vord's arm does not move. But then he makes I pulled the knife out gesture. But that knife would have twisted out of his hand or something. And it's very obvious he's just stabbing behind him. But yeah, that's when you're my camp, there's my space camp. That's when that happened.
I love space camp.
So yeah, Arbitan's dead. We cut to, they've jumped to the next place.
And somehow Barbara gets ahead of them.
They show it and where's Barbara? Barbara's not there. And they see a dial and there's blood on it. Bum, bum, bum. And Ian looks very concerned.
Oh my gosh. Ian is so angry. It's amazing.
Of course, that's a cliffhanger, and then that all turns out to be bullshit. But,
yeah, no, she's totally fine. No worries.
Where did the blood even come from?
I mean, she explains it away. She's oh, yeah, I, cut my hand on a rock when I first got in, so I took the thing off and left it there, covered in blood, for you to find later. That's pretty much it. And she's been hanging out at this new place.
Oh, by the way, we are now in the Velvet Web.
The Velvet where she is basically being treated like a queen. She has this very nice dress. I guess it's all kind of Roman, the attire.
Yeah. Well, when they come in, there's alarms blaring, which I'm glad stopped. Which I think was the thing that triggered the twist that's coming. But yeah, they're all like dressed fancily, and yeah, Roland's probably it. Like, they're treating Barbara like a queen. Like, I don't know, how long
has she been there? They all left at the same time, so she shouldn't have been that far ahead, but she has, like, this dress that they made from her from scratch, and she just has, like, these
grapes.
Yeah, great. I mean, not just, like, plates and plates of food, which, by the way, I don't know why, but there's this scene of everyone just, like, basically gorging, right? Where it's like, oh, look at this fancy, expensive food, and look at this, and I'm gonna eat this, and it's great. And I could watch that all day. Yeah. I don't know why, but it's like, what is that? That looks good. Everyone seems to be enjoying this really decadent food. All right.
Except for Ian. Ian's like,
Ian's not having any of it because he knows what's going on.
Susan asks them to make her a dress.
Susan, there's this fabric, and she's like, oh, I would love to have a dress out of this. And the guy of the episode, whose name is... Altos.
He's like, yeah, all right.
Who becomes adorable, but that's not the point. He's like, yeah, we basically will just give you guys anything, because that's how we roll. And Ian's like, this is pretty suspicious.
The doctor's suspicious, but then...
Until they promise science.
Yeah, Altos like, we'll give you a lab with everything in it. He's like, okay. And so they all sort of go away, but like Barbara and Ian sort of have a scene together where Ian's like, I don't know, Barb, do you think we should do this? And Barb's like, we should have some fun.
Yeah, it's like, you worry too much. And he's like, I know. They're so cute.
And that was the point where Toni said, okay, I ship it.
And I get it now. I get it. I was so wrong before.
And I was so happy. I was so happy because I like Ian and Barbara, and I think they're adorably cute together. And she needs someone after she lost her Thal.
After she lost her Thal plaything.
Yeah, so they're like, all right, cool.
We'll just hang around and be given neat stuff. That sounds like a plan.
Let's take a nap.
So they do. They all take a nap.
And then they all go to sleep, and then the camera ominously pans over everyone asleep.
It's terrifying.
And then it ends on like this big poster, like this big painting, and the eyes glow.
That legitimately frightened me. I jumped a little bit when it happened.
I keep saying this, but this show is very Scooby-Doo sometimes. Very Scooby-Doo. But then this woman walks in, this servant lady, who turns out later her name is Sabitha.
She puts love pillow mints on everybody's forehead. I guess that's some kind of mind control thing. Like it's
like a little mind control diamond or something.
It's classic Who, so you don't ever get to actually see it enough to see what it is. Like, you gather the important information.
They are being hypnotized. 2 seconds after she puts it on Barbara's head, Barbara turns to the side and it falls off. They all wake up.
Except for Barbara. Barbara's still asleep.
Yeah, they're all like, oh, look, it's orange juice and this, that, and...
Look at this fancy ketchup.
Yeah, everything's great here. We are having a great time. Susan gets her dress. Everybody's just happy. And it's actually kind of nice. I mean, it's like ominous, but cute. Nice. And then Barbara wakes up and is like, what's going on, you guys? Everything's different.
Everything's changed. What happened to all the nice things? Everything now looks like crap. And it was kind of cool because...
They cut to, like, Barbara's point of view.
Her point of view. And then, like, they cut back and forth between her point of view because if you haven't gathered...
Well, they don't really cut back and forth.
A little bit. If you haven't gathered, all of the nice things are lies. They're all fake.
And when we say Barbara's point of view, we literally mean it's a point of view shot. It was actually really cool. Like, that's like the first, like, real big camera things I've noticed on this show.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a couple of things here and there, but this one was, like, really cool. Like, it was good for the story. It wasn't just a cool shot. It was, like, work for the story.
And, like, the doctor has, they're, like Joe said, they're drinking orange juice, and they're complimenting how wonderful the glasses are, how like high quality they are, and it cuts to Barbara's point of view shot and he's holding up this like dirty coffee mug.
Susan's like, hey, look at my dress, and she holds it up and it's just a bunch of rags.
And Susan is so offended because Barbara's like, disoriented, and so she's shouting and she's like, they're just rags. And Susan looks like she's gonna cry. She, like, clutches it towards her like, no, it's a beautiful dress. Why would you say such a thing?
You talked about this in the last episode. The show Angel. This actually reminded me of Angel a bit with the whole Jasmine plot line. In this episode, Barbara gets to be Fred.
Aww.
And she's like, how do I fix them? And I was like, well, you just mix your blood with Jasmine's and you're good to go.
She ends up getting separated somehow.
They take her basically to
right.
We're gonna, I guess, kill you or something.
I can't remember anybody's names. Remind me of secondary characters' names again.
Well, there's Altos and Sabitha. Or Sabitha.
Altos.
Altos.
So Altos...
The fresh maker.
Altoids he comes
Altos.
in. No, I'm going to purposely call them Altoids.
Okay.
So Altos comes in and is like, well, it didn't work on her. Crap. And basically takes her away.
Yeah.
But she somehow gets away from him.
Yeah, she just runs away and then hides behind this, like...
She turns a corner and hides behind it. He walks up towards the, corner, kind of leans in slightly, and then turns back.
And he's like, nah. And she hides there, 2 or 3 times during the episode, and nobody can see around this magical corner.
Because everyone's just too lazy to look.
And also, Barbara thinks it's a deep form of deep hypnosis.
A deep form of deep hypnosis. Hypnosis? God. You made me do it.
Deep form of deep hypnosis. No wonder she screwed the line up.
It's a terrible line.
So while that's happening, the doctor is shown his laboratory, which is just an empty room with like a gross little thing in it or something, so he has a prop to pick up. But it's bare. The walls are bare. The set designers are like, yes.
What a good day.
All right. But then we find out they're going to have Barbara removed from their memories, and then they're going to be turned into slaves for the bad guys, which turns out to be brains with eye stalks.
They are brains in jars with snail eyes. They are the most fantastic villains ever.
Their eyeballs are literally, they're in these glass jars, right? And the eyes.
They shoot them from the back every time, except for the one time that they don't. And it's like ping pong balls with magic marker on them.
And it's clearly taped to the glass. Well, maybe not taped, but the eyeballs are right up on the glass. They're leaning against the glass.
They're great. They're great. But yeah, so, the brains are projecting, I guess, this illusion and enslaving all the people.
They're actually going to kill Barbara because once you know stuff is all fake.
Once you see the truth, they can't take that knowledge away from you. So they're just going to kill her to get rid of her.
Yeah, Jasmine's going to eat her. Ian finds her.
And you're excited. And then it goes all bad.
Because, Ian doesn't remember her.
Ian doesn't remember, and he just goes...
We have to take you to the...
You're the girl who escaped. And you're like, no!
So he takes her...
No, Ian, it's Barbara!
Ian takes her to the brains, and the brains are like, Ian, kill her. And Ian starts choking Barbara.
It was really upsetting.
But, Barbara kicks ass, knocks him apart.
Yeah, Barbara's like, not having it.
Knocks him to the ground.
And then... smashes the crap out of the brains.
Barbara bashes brains.
It's the best.
Yeah, she just smashes the glass and then all the brains die, I guess.
Which I guess breaks the illusion. So the bad guys, Altoids and...
Sabitha,
they were slaves too. They no longer are.
And then we also find out Sabitha is Arbitan's daughter.
And also, Altoid's lover.
Yeah, that's about what I was about to say. They kept talking about their relationship, but nothing in the episodes really led me to think they were a couple.
No.
It's a big prominent plot point that gets brought up multiple times, but they never really seem like a couple at any point.
No, not really. These two characters turn out to be the people who were sent ahead of this key in the first place. Being enslaved is why they never came back. So we get side characters.
And the reason we pick up side characters is because the doctor is like, well, I'm going to jump 4 stops ahead. Well, not 4 steps, but 3.
No, yeah. Well, he goes... They have 4 keys that they have to get, and he's like, I'm just going to skip to the 4th key, which doesn't do them any good, because he hasn't gotten it by the time that they end up there.
The only reason this happens is because William Hartnell needed a vacation. William Hartnell is not in the next 2 episodes. So the next 2 episodes, Doctor free. I mean, there's been episodes where the Doctor's been slightly out of commission, but he's at least in them.
I don't know. Marco Polo, I feel like he was just napped through a lot of Marco Polo.
Yeah, but I think he was still at least there. I think this is the first time that he's completely gone.
Where's the key on this one?
Oh, Sabitha had it, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she had it on a chain.
Sabitha already had it. I think they figured out that she was Arbitan's daughter before, because Barbara saw it on her neck. Because there's a scene with her and Sabitha. Like, they kick Sabitha out, too, because...
They're gonna kill Sabitha because she
screwed up the mint chocolate on the forehead.
Right. She wasn't courteous enough to Barbara.
So they throw her out, and that's when Barb's hiding behind that corner again.
And she almost doesn't see her because she's behind a magic corner.
Altos is going to attack Sabitha... attacks Barbara, actually. He attacks Barbara, and Sabitha smashes him over the head. But
like couples do.
There's a lot of abuse in this.
It's weird. Well, we should talk about it when we get to it.
But that's the first instance of sort of abuse.
Well, that's
it's brainwashing,
mind controlling. It's different.
So the doc jumps two things ahead, but before he even jumps ahead, Susan is like, "Can I go with you, Doctor?" And Doctor's like, "No, stick with these people. I'll be fine on my own." And then Susan's like, okay, and like immediately jumps forward one because she doesn't want to say goodbye, which is kind of cute. That's in the next episode, but that revealed that she doesn't like saying goodbye.
So much like her grandfather.
Yeah, everybody else sort of just talks a bit and then jumps. But then we cut to Susan in the next place, and there's like noise, and then she starts screaming again because that's Susan's catchphrase is "ah!" and she goes, "Stop it!" And I went, "You first."
There's a moment, and I think it's maybe an episode that's coming up or an episode that's already happened, I don't remember, where Susan's screaming at something that like legitimately happened, and Barbara's like, there, it's probably nothing, you probably imagined it. And Joe was like, why do people keep assuming that Susan isn't seeing real things? But at the same time, I feel like she just screams every so often, and that like just occasionally something frightens Susan, she screams at it, and Ian and Barbara have to be like, it's okay, it's just like...
The toilet flushing, calm down.
It's supposed to make that sound. I don't... Calm down, it's okay.
That's the cliffhanger of that episode, and that leads us into The Screaming Jungle.
Perfect for Susan.
The Screaming Susan, our first no-doc episode. Everybody else eventually shows up. They don't hear any screaming.
None.
And Barb's like, Susan, I'm tired of this shit. Stop. Just stop. Oh, I know what it is. One of the branches, like, wraps around Susan.
Wraps around her foot.
Then Barbara's like, it's probably nothing. That's when she's like...
That's...
Because it wraps around Susan. It always happens to Susan. Because she has to scream. Barbara bashes branches. Barbara bashes brains. And in this episode, she bashes branches.
Because she kicks ass.
And she is a badass. Badass Barbara bashes brains and branches. Booyah. Everybody goes off to, like, look for an entrance because everything's covered with branches. Wait, I think maybe Altos and Sabitha skipped it forward.
Skip forward too?
Too, but not as far as the Doctor. The Doctor went all the way to end, and Altos and Sabitha
not right away. They jump with them, and then, like you said, they're looking for this entrance because it's all walled off. And there's this part of the wall where it looks like you can push it open, but it's covered in vines. And it's great because there's like 3 plastic vines over it, and Ian's like, it'll take all day to cut through that. And you're like, will it, Ian? But will it?
Oh, they get the key first.
Yes, Barbara finds the key. Ian goes away to find something to get into the wall.
But the branches sort of part.
And so Barbara can get in. And Barbara has a line where she's like, I'm just gonna, try to get into this thing while you're trying to do other things. And Ian's like, don't do anything till I get back.
But she does anyway.
Yeah, because Barbara's like, he's annoying me. I wish he wasn't so protective. And Susan's like, I think it's kind of cute. And Barbara's like, no, yeah, it's cute. It's just also annoying, which is, to me, adorable.
But there's like this, like, idol guy at the end of this hallway.
There's a grope statue.
Yeah, like, its hands are sticking out. Which, when you're watching it, she bumps into it and it's clearly somebody's hand. It's not...
You're like, that's gonna move later.
Yeah, so she's like climbing up on it because the key is hanging from it. And she tries to get it, and then Barbara falls prey to that recurring villain, trapdoors.
It's the hand slowly close.
Grab her.
And then the door spins around.
And then Susan's like, ah! Barbara! Because she screams. Ian gets back, and they all go in, and then they get the key's fine. The key's there. So they get the key. And then they're like, well, we have the key, let's jump forward. And, like, Altos jumps forward, I think.
Yes, that's it.
Are Altos and?
No. Altos jumps forward, and then Sabitha's looking at the key, and she's like, this is like an inch shorter than it's supposed to be. It's a fake.
Yeah.
And Barbara's like, no.
No, Barbara
really?
doesn't. Ian says it. Barbara's still inside.
Oh, yeah, Barbara's trapped. Ian's like, are you serious? Because that's shitty.
Well, he's like, well, I'm going to go in there and save her. And they're like, well, she'll just use her dial. And they're like,
she'll
well,
just
I'll
jump
go in there
ahead.
and save it. Then they find out it's fake. He's like, well, I'll go in there and try to look for it anyway. Either Barbara's jumped forward, but we still need to find the key here.
So Ian sticks around and Sabitha jumps ahead.
Sabitha and Susan jump ahead.
Yeah, Sabitha and so it's just Ian and Barbara.
At this point, yeah. Ian is like, well, if the trapdoor worked with the one time, it should happen again.
All aboard the Grub statue.
So, yeah, the thing grabs Ian's butt, and it spins around. It doesn't actually grab his butt.
It grabs his lower legs.
Yeah. And he goes in, and he just walks right underneath this, like, clearly a guy in a night costume. Again, clearly people. And he's holding up this big axe, and he steps on a tile, lifts up the axe, and is about to...
It's supposed to be mechanical, because it makes, like, chunking noises, and it's very mechanical about how he does it. Yeah. And Barbara saves him.
He doesn't get killed, but they're trying to get into some place. Like, there's a door, but it's covered in branches or stuff, and they're like, how do we get in? And I'm like, use the axe that almost killed you. At no point do either of them think to use the axe. There's multiple points where they could have used the axe, and they never use the axe.
In fact, Barbara says, you know what, I think I saw some iron bars over that way. There's just like a pile of tools, I guess, which is, of course, a booby trap. So Ian is, like, fidgeting with them, and while he's fidgeting with them, like, these prison bars just descend downward, and he's trapped.
Yeah, well, before that happens, he's, like, looking through them, and Barbara's just standing there, and the door opens.
And she's like, hey, how about that?
And she's like, hey, Ian, it's open. He's like, give me a second. I'm still going to get this iron bar.
For no reason.
She goes in, a net falls on her.
And she immediately falls to the ground.
It's just a net. It's not that bad.
But she's like, it's pressing her to the ground and she can't get up.
Then the cage drops on Ian. Then spikes start coming down from the ceiling to kill Barbara.
But, like, they're so slow. If it was me, I'd be like,
roll.
Roll away.
Get out from underneath that net.
They're wiggling like they're made of foam.
Yeah. There's a guy that stops it who's like, I control the booby traps. Who are you? But Ian actually breaks out with the iron bar.
With the iron bar. And the face he makes, by the way, is the cutest face. Because he's like, it cuts to him a couple of times trying to pry the bars open. And when he finally does, he has just this most, like, genuinely pleased smile. And it's precious.
Here's the thing about the net. Barbara gets out of the net pretty much by herself.
Yeah, once the spikes are stopped.
Well, let me out of this net, mysterious stranger person. And, like, he won't do it, and blah, 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 blah. And then he goes off to do his own thing, and Ian comes, and, like, she's pretty much got herself out of the net, and, like, Ian just, like, sort of tugs it a little bit.
Which is very Ian.
And then she's like, well, we should just jump. There was also a point where they're like, we should just jump forward. But then Ian's like, no, it's a fake. Yeah, but then they go into the room and, like, the guy is being choked to death by vines.
For no real reason. Like,
and Ian's like, how do I stop it? I'm like, the fucking axe!
Basically,
but luckily there's a sword in there for some reason. Don't use the axe you've clearly set up. Use this random sword. They get him free, and then he's like, okay, I guess you guys are really from Arbatan.
That's something I want to talk about. He doesn't believe him at first. You know, they say, Arbatan sent us to get the key, quit hiding it from us. And he's like, how do I know that you guys are really from him? And Barbara's like, what? I don't know. He's like, if he sent you, he would have, like, told you stuff.
Told you about the booby traps.
Yeah. I'm like, why didn't he? That's rude. There's, like, a couple of times where, like, people are hiding the keys from them. Where if Arbatan had just been like, here's this, like, seal, it means you're from me. It could have saved them a lot of trouble. And that dude might have not been choked to death by vines.
Write a note.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets choked and, like, he dies. I guess the vines are poison?
It's not like he dies from being choked. He's being choked, Ian cuts the vines, and then he's dying. So I guess they're poison.
I guess. But, like, he takes forever to die, but before he dies, he's like, alright, I guess you guys are from Arbatan. here's a puzzle. He says some like random letters and numbers.
Then dies.
Then dies. And they're like, should we have written this down? But they go into this room. The branches are like trying to get in. It basically turns into an escape the room situation.
Because they have this puzzle, and they're trapped in this room, and they're like, there's a safe. And they try the code, and the code doesn't work on the safe. And they're like, well, we'll just try everything in the room. So like, there's all these booby traps and all this. The most obvious thing probably isn't it. So we'll just try
Except for the fact that Ian doesn't know how to use a freaking safe.
He turns it left, and then left again. Which is not how things work.
You alternate it. And he tries it like twice. And he's like, well, that's not it. I'm like, maybe try it like a normal person uses the safe.
Are safes different other places?
Is
that pretty standard, the left right?
If you are from a place that's not America, or if you're from the 60s, did safes used to work different? Do they work different overseas or in different countries? Is
Ian just stupid?
Is Ian just stupid? Are there some safes that just go left? Let us know.
So, someone please tell us. Someone please solve this great mystery of the universe.
We have an ask on our Tumblr, so send us an ask. Yes, Joe. Some safes just turn left. Or Tony. It could be addressed to Tony.
But yeah, it's very puzzle heavy, and it's kind of cool.
And then they solve what the deal is with the plants, which is an increased tempo of destruction, which is what this serial should have been called.
It is a much better title.
The tempo of destruction. I like it. But yeah, stuff starts to get really intense. They hear whispers.
Basically, Earth can destroy things faster.
Yeah.
So like how like jungles take over civilizations. It just happens faster.
Or water dripping on a stone will eventually...
Yeah, but that was dumb.
Yeah. But like, it's just sped up, and so now branches can talk. And that they make it says something, once you hear the whispering, you know shit's gonna be bad. That's verbatim.
So they hear the whispering, shit starts to get bad.
Which sounds an awful lot like the TARDIS.
Key on a piano string?
Yeah, it sounds like the TARDIS.
It sounds an awful lot like that.
But then they finally figure out...
Yeah, once shit starts going bad, and then they realize, oh, okay, these numbers and letters are...
Yeah, well, they knock over a jar, and it's got like a
chemical code on it. And so, like, that's what these are. These jars are all labeled with different chemicals. The one that the guy said has the key in it, and it does, and they jump the F out of there.
Yeah, but can I say, when she picks it up, like, there's 4 jars, and the one that they're looking for is very clearly labeled in the front, and she picks up every one around it first, and then it's like, oh, there it is. And then they get the key, and then they get out of there. Then they're in the snow. It's like, it's really cold. And I'm like,
we're gonna freeze to death if we can't find shelter.
Are they back in Marco Polo?
Yeah.
And now we are on to the Snows of Terror. That's a
noun of scary adjective.
Snows of Terror.
Of them. All of the snow.
Alternately, the best and worst title.
Oh my gosh. And we have what is, like, legitimately, to me, one of the more terrifying villains in this episode.
Alright, so they are freezing, but they get saved by this mountain man.
He takes him back to his, like, cabin and creepily warms up Barbara's hands.
Rubs them. Well, he's like, you got frostbite. You don't stick them in the fire. You gotta rub. You gotta get the circulation back.
But the scene was...
It was creepy.
Icky.
It was. Ian's asleep. Eventually wakes up, and then
Barbara
rubs
his hands, and it's cute.
Well, like, he says, oh yeah, your buddies were here, and they went to the village. Well, actually, he says his buddies brought them to the cabin and then left while they were asleep. That's what he says, I think. Ian's like, well, I'm going to go to the village and find Altos and Sabitha and Susan. And the second he leaves, the creep factor escalates.
It's upsetting. There's this line where they're like sitting eating or something, and they're talking about something getting in, and he's like, nothing can get in that door
or out.
And you're like, no.
No, thank you.
No, this is going poorly, and I don't like it.
Yeah, and it's legit. He's not a good guy.
He's not a good guy, and he has very bad intentions. Very, very bad intentions.
And we quickly find that out. And so does Ian. Ian bumps into Altos, who's out in the snow.
With no pants, because Altos never wears pants, by the way.
Which leads to Ian rubbing his legs.
Also very cute.
Yes, and then there's like wolves, and they're like, why are there so many wolves out here? What's going on? And you find out the creepy mountain man put raw meat in the bag of
like supplies that he gave him.
That he gave Ian. So, to lead the wolves to basically come and kill them. Because the mountain man took their time dials.
Ian traded it in order for supplies to get to the village. While Ian's out with the wolves, Barbara finds the other key? Is it Sabitha's stuff, basically?
Yeah, Sabitha's stuff, and finds the time dials and the key. She's like, yeah, they may have traded the time dials to go get stuff to go to the village, but she would not have given up that key. Which, and then the creepy mountain guy is like, I knew it was valuable.
I mean, Barbara basically accuses creepy mountain man of killing them, or otherwise harming them. He's like, yeah, you don't kill people up here, you just let the snow and the wolves do it. Just, God, he is such a creepy character.
He starts chasing Barbara around the room.
Barbara has this, like, a poker at one point, and is swinging it at him.
Abuse, again. Not from her, but I mean from him. He's creepy. He's, like, gonna do bad stuff. But Ian shows up with Altos, and they all overtake the mountain man.
And Ian is the most angry Ian has ever been.
And you're all hot for Ian now.
I don't think I said that.
I think you called him sexy at one point. Not during that scene, but in an upcoming scene.
I don't think so.
Then you immediately called him an adorable nerd.
I have a taste.
We'll get to that in a second. I think at some point in the cave, I keep calling him a caveman. Mountain man mentions that he did lead them to that cave.
Oh yeah, he did. He led Susan and Sabitha to the cave, but basically only gave them enough, like, supplies for them to not die for, like, a couple hours.
Ian's like, you're going to take us to the cave. So Susan and Sabitha are exploring the cave.
Which the cave is, like, covered in ice.
It's the cave of ice.
The cave of cardboard
we finally got into the cave of this serial. The cave of keys! Which at some point, Ian's like, the key must be here. I'm like, why?
Because the episode's almost over.
God, that cave looks so fake. Looked so fake.
I liked it.
Yeah. It was shiny.
I'm proud of everything that happened.
You could almost hear, like, that rubbing noise. Like,
there's some point where Ian is moving these, I don't know if they're supposed to be ice, but they're stalactites. Or stalagmites? Which one is which?
I thought they were wood for some reason. I don't know, the giant carrot-looking things?
Those are definitely stalactites. I mean, I guess they had already broken off, so it doesn't matter which ones they are. He's moving them around, and you see the bottom of them, which is like unpainted styrofoam.
So they get to the cave, because we have a cave set, gotta use it. There's a rope bridge, which I guess is maybe a clue that something's going on with this cave. They all cross the rope bridge.
They all cross, which, by the way, this rope bridge is maybe like 2 feet across.
The chasm is not very big.
There's a lot of lines that are said so that you go, okay, I guess that's true. Because Ian goes, well, it's too big to jump across.
Yeah.
Is it Ian, though? Is it?
That said, after they all cross, except for the mountain man who's scared to be here. He's like, we shouldn't be here.
Which is really effective to me when you have this, like, vile character who all of a sudden is like, I'm terrified of the situation, I want to go. Because that to me is like, what? Something is in here that is scarier than him.
And he throws the rope bridge into the chasm.
Which, by the way, Ian is terrible at crossing the rope bridge. Everyone kind of goes across the rope bridge with no problem, and Ian, like, almost trips like 3 times. Yeah. It's my favorite.
Yes, he throws it in, and they all cross. Ian's a nerd.
Is that when I called him a nerd?
That's when you called him an adorable nerd.
He's an adorable nerd.
I'm pretty sure that set was the exact same set from the Daleks when they did jump.
When they did jump across, it's the exact same chasm from before.
They go in further. They find Susan and Sabitha. It is the key. There's like a big chest with like 3 knights around it that don't move. I guess you're supposed to think, oh, those are statues, but they're clearly people in costume. Every single time.
Well, and there's this most ridiculous setup, which is the key is frozen into this giant block of ice. And there's like a hot water faucet that will drip hot water onto it and slowly melt it. And that's how it's protected, I guess.
Also, when they melt the ice, the knights come alive.
Which seems like a really ineffective trap. Because why would you wait until after the, like, key's, like, accessible to be like, well, the ice failed. Send in the knights, I guess.
While that's happening, that's when they make the bridge of cellophane. And it melts, the knights come to life very slowly. Sabitha just trips and falls to add drama. Like, on nothing.
You know, like you do in Who.
They run away from these knights, who are very slow moving. There's this previously set up giant block of ice, which, I'm going to be honest, shaped very much like a penis.
I don't think it was shaped that much like a penis.
I see penises everywhere.
I know you do.
So they go under the penis block. Ian knocks it down so that the knights can't get past it. While that's all happening, Susan is like crawling across. Oh, and I just realized what she was doing. She crawled across with the rope bridge to put it back up.
And she puts the rope bridge back up, and then everyone goes back across the rope bridge, and Ian is just as bad at it the second time around. In fact, Altoids has to help him.
The knights are so strong that they can lift this giant
block of ice.
Oh.
And so they're going towards the rope bridge, right? And one of them is walking across the rope bridge, and Ian just cuts the thing and lets the guy fall.
Ian straight up kills the dude.
It's the most hardcore thing.
To be fair, it's probably like some mystical thing.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that they were just made of ice or something. They were ice golems, maybe.
I wonder if that scream is the exact same scream as the guy falling.
I don't think so. I don't think it was quite as high-pitched.
I'll edit them in right here, side by side. And we're back.
You're such a nerd.
So yeah, Ian kills the dude. They go back to the cabin, and
the mountain man is just so freaked out by the fact that they're not dead that he just runs.
But he comes back because he's being chased by the knights.
Oh yeah, because the knights got out of the cave and are still there.
And he gets stabbed through the door.
Through the door in the back. Oh, and he dies in a hilarious way too.
Everybody dies hilariously in this series.
I'm gonna fall now.
He was not that close to the sword.
No, he wasn't. It took me a second to realize that that's what had happened because he was so far away from the door.
That's like the third person who's been backstabbed. Frog Power Ranger guy, Arbitan, and now Mountain Man's been stabbed in the back.
We're running with a theme.
And then they time jump.
Why do they even go back
Or
to
they
the
don't
thing
time
if they
jump,
have
they
the
jump.
key? Oh, because they have to get the rest of their key, the rest of their stuff.
Yeah, the keys and the time dials.
I gotcha.
They had to get it from Mountain Man. They jump, which we don't see where they jump to because it just cuts to this dude passed out on the floor. Ian walks up on him and sees the key. Ian gets bashed over the head with like this mace and falls hilariously.
Oh my gosh. I've said it's adorable too many times. I'm like keeping a mental count, but it's adorable.
It's pretty adorable. He's like,
he does this he falls gently so that he doesn't harm himself, but it's like he's very violently falling asleep.
I wish you guys could see the movements Toni just made. Whoever this mysterious figure is puts the mace down next to Ian.
Puts it in his hand.
And then opens the glass case that has the key in it.
And steals the key.
And we have alarms. And that's the end of the Snows of Terror.
And then we have the most unexpected episode.
The Sentence of Death.
Which is where this serial basically becomes a law drama.
It's Doctor Who, Law and Order.
That's what this episode is. And I love it.
Ian wakes up.
And there's a guard.
Who, I love that guy, by the way.
He's fantastic. I like him a lot. He always stands with his hands on his hips and as drawn up as he can be and is very authoritative.
Talks in a very deliberate manner.
He, thinks that Ian stole the key. Oh, and there's the body that Ian was looking at before. It was another guard who had been killed. So he thinks that Ian also killed the guard. And
Ian's like, no, I just stumbled in here and the door was open. I came in and then I saw the key and then somebody hit me over the head. Like, why would I knock myself over the head? Hands on hip guy is like, Toni, no one can see you do that. Toni is putting her hands on her hips. Well, Ian's like, well, I'm innocent until proven guilty. And like that guy's like, no, it's guilty until proven innocent.
That's not how it works here at all. Ian gets so indignant. He's like, this nation's laws are a mockery.
Well, you got to prove your innocence without a shadow of a doubt. Do you need a lawyer? And he's like, well, maybe there's somebody here who can help me. And he's like, who? He's like, who? He's a doctor.
They did the thing.
He meets up with Altos and Sabitha and all that stuff. But then the doctor returns!
He's in the episodes again. And he's jumped ahead, 3 episodes?
He's been here for a while, apparently.
Accomplished basically nothing? He had a plan to get the key But that plan got interrupted by, someone else stealing it and framing Ian.
And I gotta say, when he showed up, everybody was, like, super pleased. And I gotta say, I was pleased. I was like, oh, the doctor's back! It, like, was, like, legitimately nice and heart. Like, it was like, oh, yeah!
We're all together again.
And everybody hugs, and, like, everybody cheers, like, when the doctor shows up.
Yeah.
And that's the way I felt. It was nice. So that is a plus to the doctor being away for a little while. When he comes back, you're, like, happy.
There's that grumpy old man I love.
Oh, and the most adorable scene happens. Well, the doctor's like, well, I'm gonna be your lawyer now. And Ian's like, oh, shit. But the doctor gives everybody, like, tasks. You guys go investigate this, you guys go investigate that. And then, like, Ian's like, well, what do you want me to do?
What can I do? Just let me know, what can I do?
The doctor goes, trust me.
And Ian hangs his head because he knows he's going to die. Which is pretty much what happens.
Yeah.
Spoilers, the doctor loses the case.
Pretty much. And Ian's gonna be executed. They're, like, waiting for, like, 12 o'clock or something. And there's just a shot of him standing in the room, and he looks up at the clock, and
the clock has the most ridiculous beep, beep, beep.
And I was just like, follow the girl home, I said. This is all your fault, Ian.
For stalking high school children.
And now you're sentenced to death. We're jumping ahead.
We are, I'm sorry.
So we have a courtroom scene with these 3 judges wearing giant matchsticks on their head. Only one of them talks. The other 2 just nod a lot.
And nod so enthusiastically because they weren't given lines.
Yep.
Or, no. So there's these courtroom scenes, and like, I think the very first thing the doctor does is like, I request that we postpone this hearing by 2 days so that I can figure out what's going on. And they're like, yeah, all right. Which is where we get the doctor, Susan, and Barbara go investigating. They go to the scene of the crime and they look for clues. And they do some deducting. Well, first they're at the crime scene, and the doctor knows where the key is. He figures it out based on reasons. Only since he can't prove that, like, Ian didn't tell him that, it's pretty much useless knowledge. They can't figure out who actually killed the guard. So yeah, how do they end up at his wife's house? I guess they're going to question her.
I don't remember why, though.
Well, there's the guard who...
died?
Not the guard who died, the guard who was accusing Ian.
Not Hands on Hip guy, though. I don't remember.
Is it Hands on Hip guy's boss?
It might be.
Why did they go to talk to her then?
Okay, here's the thing. Maybe that one guy who was interrogating Ian, he's the interrogator or whatever.
That's what it is.
And
he
the guard
literally
is the
calls himself the interrogator.
Right, and the guard that caught him, that says he saw.
Right, so they go to talk to the guard's wife.
Well, they actually go to talk to the guard, but the guard's not there, and they talk to his wife. So they talk
to his wife.
While they're asking her questions and stuff, the guard stumbles in and pretty much almost immediately gives away that he's the bad guy.
He does. He, like, comes in and he's like, "Whoa, they're asking an awful lot of questions about that murder I commit." Oh. That I have been working on.
Like, he does it like 2 or 3 times. Like, it's pretty crappily written, I gotta say. There's like at least 2 moments where there could have been in the script him going, oops.
Uh-oh. I almost just confessed to murder just then. Out loud. To you guys. They interrogate him.
And then he's like, and then like tells them to get out. And then they get out.
They tell him to get out. They get out and they're listening at the door, and he's shouting at his wife and he hits her. And it's unsettling.
There's a weird theme of abuse.
It was just very startling to me because it's not like it's something that they're going to be addressing. I guess it's basically setting up that this is a bad guy. But
they're like, well, this is clearly the guy who did it.
But we have circumstantial evidence. We don't have proof.
The courtroom scene happens and the
doctor has a plan.
I know who did it because I have the key right here. And then the guy pretty much goes, how did you get that? I hid that. This guy cannot keep his mouth shut.
How did you know that I hid it? Oh, shit. I just confessed, didn't I?
They're like, yep, that guy did it.
And then he dies because someone shined a flashlight in his face.
There was apparently a Dalek exterminating people off in the corner. But yeah, like, he dies.
Yeah, there's like this light that goes around his eyes, and you're like, that was a gunshot.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
But before he dies, he's like, they made me do it. So they're like, well, Ian's good now, right? And they're like, no, Ian was an accomplice.
Yeah, everything's pretty much exactly the same. We just know that the dead guy was also involved in it.
Well, the doc's like, well, can I have a couple more days to get more evidence? And they're like, no, we're going to kill him. He's dead.
There's this scene that is like just the most heartbreaking thing, and it's just the doctor.
Well, that's in the next episode.
Oh, okay. I will patiently wait till we get there.
We can say it right at the top of the next episode, but that episode ends and we're now into the Keys of Marinus.
Can I say it now?
Say it now.
There's this scene where the doctor is sitting outside of the courtroom. He's just defeated. He's just utterly defeated. Like, he can't think of any other way to postpone this execution. He can't think of any new evidence. And he's just sitting there like his whole body is just defeat. I guess the other attorney or whatever they are called, where they are, tries to cheer him up. He's like, hey, no hard feelings. Like, you didn't go to law school at all. I thought you did a good job. The doctor's kind of like, yeah. Ian's gonna die. And it's just utterly depressing.
Susan's been kidnapped.
The doctor doesn't know that.
Susan's been kidnapped. There's like a phone call. But Susan just says, I've been kidnapped. Doesn't say who did it or anything. And like
she
Barbara...
gets hit too.
Huh?
She gets hit too. She's on that phone call and she's like, kid, they made me call you. And you hear this slap. And it's... there's a lot of hitting. I don't know why that upsets me. Like, Ian straight up killed the guy in another one. I don't know.
They're like, well, what do we do? And like, well, I guess we just try to figure out who did it. Like, let's talk to the wife.
She'll want to help us out as much as anybody.
Because they killed her husband.
So they go to talk to the wife, and Barbara and Susan go, because Barbara figures this all out on her own. Or not Barbara and Susan. Susan's been kidnapped. Barbara and Altoids and Sabitha go. They go to question the wife, and Barbara is like so kind about it. She shows up and she's like, I'm just sorry to even be here, but we think you might be able to help us figure out, who killed your husband and, framed our friend. She's just very sympathetic the whole time. Very sweet. I enjoy that. But they're talking to her, and the wife says, wish I could help. I know you must be really concerned after you talked to Susan, but I just don't know anything. So they leave, and Barbara goes, hey, wait a second.
We didn't say that Susan called. Was that we talked to Susan? They did say that Susan was missing, but not that she...
Not that they talked to her.
Before they figure that out, though, we see that the wife is in on it. She has Susan in that room.
She has her in, like, a closet.
And she just, like, opens the closet and gloats about it.
Yeah. Like, your friends were just here. They're too dumb to know that you're here. I'm gonna kill you now. And that's when, of course, Barbara's like, hey, wait a second. We should go back.
They come in and stop her and, like, you're the bad guy.
We got
this. And then it's like, time to release,
Ian, since we know we brought her in and she's confessed.
This might be the moment when the doctor is sad, too. Because then I think that he's like, yeah, this would be fine. But the wife, who, by the way, I think her name is Carla, named Ian as the accomplice.
So we're still going to kill him.
Still screwed. And then we see the beep, beep, beep clock.
Ian's, like, look of concern gets to me.
Well, the doctor's like, I have this one last idea. It, like, cuts, like, night or whatever. This dude sneaks into the evidence room. The mace that was Ian's weapon or whatever is put in the evidence locker. This guy sneaks in there and gets the mace. The lights come on and everybody's like, we got you. And the doctor actually flicks the light on in like a really badass moment. He's like, I got you. It turns out to be like, it's another guard, right? Or the police guy or something. It's just some guy. It doesn't matter.
No.
He was in on it with Carla and blah, blah, blah. And the wife. And Ian came in the middle of it and screwed everything up. And it turns out the key...
Like Ian does.
Yeah, the key is in the mace, and the doctor had figured that out ages ago, so he knew that the real bad guy would come in and try to get the key back. They were going to sell the key. And that's a mystery solved. I gotta say, this episode feels a little bloated, because a lot happens in this episode, because we have the wrap-up of this, and then we start a completely new story in the same episode and have to wrap it up as well. Technically, I mean, it's the bookends, but they have all the keys, they jump back, some of them find out that Arbatana's dead, not all of them. I think the Power Rangers have taken over. The Vord.
Yeah. The Vord is what they are actually called. Yeah, the Vord have taken over after they killed, which I forgot that he was dead. By the time we were watching this episode, I was like, what happened to him? I was like, oh yeah, he was killed 3-4 episodes ago. Sabitha and Altoids find that out first, right?
Yeah, and they're gonna kill... Well, they've captured Altoids or whatever, and Sabitha tries to pretend like she's evil. But they're like, well, if you're evil,
she doesn't pretend like she's evil. She's just like... They're like, we're going to kill him if you don't tell us where the keys are. And she's like, kill him, I don't care.
And they almost do. And she's like, no!
no! Then they're like, she's not gonna tell us. Hey, Altoids, if you don't tell us where the keys are, we'll kill her. And Altoids is like, the doctor has it.
And then Sabitha does this really ridiculous crying thing where she just puts her hand in front of her face so dramatically.
It wouldn't be that bad, except for the whole shot is like a minute long.
Yeah, it takes her forever to get into this pose. Why did they split up? Did, they go first and then everybody else went?
Ian said to. I remember Ian saying, let's split up. And we just go like, Ian, no. Yeah. Stop it.
But I mean, I think they jumped ahead before everybody else did in the last. Or not the last, it was the last. Before they left, whatever. They split up to look for Sabitha and Altos, or Arbitan. Because they're like, why didn't they wait on us, remember? And then that's when Ian's like, let's split up.
So then Ian finds Arbitan. Ian and Susan. Where's Barbara?
I don't know. I don't remember. It's not important.
But all I know is that it's Ian and Susan in the scene. They find Arbitan, which is, very obviously this board in his clothes with the hood up. And, they start walking towards him, and he's like, no, don't look at my face.
I am not suspicious. I am sick. I have a disease.
I guess Barbara goes with the doctor, by the way. Doctor gives Ian the key, and he's like, do not give this to anyone unless you know for sure that it's Arbitan. And Ian's like, I'm not dumb.
But Ian gives a key to faux Arbitan.
He does. And he's like, don't give it to me because you'll have to come too close. Just throw it down on the ground. And Ian does. And then he walks away. And
then they're like, that was weird, right?
Susan's like, yeah, that was really weird. Why did you give him the key? And Ian's like, because it's not till the next scene that he's like, oh, that was a fake key. Yeah, I knew that was weird.
That fake key from 4 episodes back.
Which turns out that the fake key will still actually turn the machine on.
But will make it explode.
Which frustrates me so much for the guy who made the fake key. Well, you went through all that trouble to, make a fake key to make sure someone wouldn't get it to turn the machine on. But the fake key still turns the machine on. It just also blows it up.
Yeah, but it doesn't do the thing it was supposed to do.
I guess.
Also, the doctor finds Sabitha and Altos. There's a scene with the two of them where I feel like the director was like, this will be a cool shot. And it's just awful. It's going through the prison bars around them. They're back to back tied to each other, and the bar in the prison separates the two of them, but awkwardly and not great. And
there's way too
much headroom. But yeah, anyway, the doctor comes in there, frees them, and they all get out before the place explodes. Well, they all say goodbye, and the doc's like, sorry, your dad's dead.
And that's where, by the way, the doctor has the monologue I mentioned before. He talks to Sabitha and he's like, admire your dad, love his work, maybe you shouldn't carry it on. Maybe machines aren't meant to tell people what to do.
I mean, it's not a bad message to end on.
No, it's not. It's just inconsistent, I feel like. It's just odd.
And then Altos and Sabitha can be together in love, even though everybody's obsessed with their love life, except for those two.
Except for them. There was that Vord, I forgot about that, who, acted jealous? Which I thought something was going to come of that.
But no, he just dies.
There's this Vord who is, asking about Sabitha and, asking about the guy. And, he talks like he knows Sabitha. And he's like, who's this kid that's been following around? They're not in love, right? They're not in love, right? Because I love her. But that's not an actual plot that happens. It just seems to kind of be there.
This last episode was, let's quickly wrap up 2 different storylines, and it felt a little long.
Yeah. They're leaving, and there's this very cute episode where Barbara's saying goodbye to everyone, and Barbara's standing outside of the TARDIS. Ian has opened the door of the TARDIS and is, leaning on Barbara's shoulder.
Oh, it's so cute.
And Barbara's like, you know what? I'm really gonna miss them. And Ian just kind of smiles at her and is like, come on, let's go on adventures. And they do. And they love it. That's very cute.
And we don't have a cliffhanger. We just have the same shot we opened with, which is a reverse of the shot we began with, which is the TARDIS dematerializes and we zoom out and see the island. So it's the exact opposite of the way that's kind of a nice bookend. All in all, I like the serial. It's kind of disjointed, but I mean...
I'm a fan of it, I'd say the fact that it's kind of disjointed almost works for it, just because you're like, and we're here now, this is interesting, what's going on over here? And you're
not stuck in the same story for 7 episodes.
Walking everywhere for, a whole episode. You're not walking somewhere else in a slightly different location, but stuff is constantly happening, and it's constantly interesting. Yeah. It's constantly entertaining, which is one of the first times I felt that way since Edge of Destruction.
And it's like, yeah, if you don't like the concept of this episode, next episode's going to be different. I did enjoy pretty much all of them. I gotta admit, the courtroom one lost steam a bit.
I loved it, if only because I was just totally in love with the idea of what was happening.
I like the idea of it. I don't think it met its potential necessarily.
That's fair.
It could have been done a little bit. And it was a little drug out because it lasted. It's the only one that sort of lasted more than an episode. Like, it lasted an episode and a half. And by the time we were, like, into it in the second episode, I was just like...
just clear them already. We've been like, yeah, we've cleared them. No, just kidding. Yeah, no.
Get it over with already. In the middle of the episode, that wraps up. But you still have, like, half of an episode left. And we, like, have to reintroduce these concepts about the thing from the very first episode. So it's a little awkward.
When we got back to the planet, I was kind of like, oh, yeah, this plot line. How much time is left in this?
It should be wrapping up.
Like, I kind of forgot about this plot line completely. I was enjoying Space Law and Order.
Okay, I gotta ask you, out of all of the different episodes, because each of these episodes are drastically different, which one was your favorite and which one was your least favorite?
God, I don't know. Okay. Velvet Web has that scene where Barbara is smashing the brains and basically, like, kicks Ian's ass. So it's got that going for it.
It's a very Barb-centric episode, which is nice. Space Law and Order has that going for it. Although, to be fair, I think I just really like the concept of that episode more than I actually like the episode. Although... I like seeing my favorite characters in harm's way. I'm one of those people who, like, goes out of my way to read, like, hurt comfort fic because I'm weird. So it also has that going for it for me. And that Ian is in a dire situation. But Snows of Terror genuinely concerns me in a way that I was not expecting, which oddly means that it's one of my favorites. I'd say definitely my least favorite is probably The Screaming Jungle, just because it doesn't do much. It's disjointed, the concept is my least favorite, and there's not a lot of character stuff in it. There's a little bit of Barb Ian's bonding, but...
There's a little bit, but I would say that's my least favorite. I'm gonna go with Snail Brains as my favorite.
Yeah, I probably agree. Snail Brains is probably my favorite because the concept is strong throughout the whole thing. It's pretty good. I mean, it's basically the Jasmine arc condensed into one episode, and I like the Jasmine arc in Angel. I don't like what led up to the Jasmine arc, but I like once Jasmine's on the scene.
Well, you say the Jasmine arc, but it's a mythological thing. It's Mesmer's. It's a trope.
Yeah, it's a trope. But I mean, it also has the specific thing of Barb
being the only one who knows.
Yeah, and like, she's like the loner.
That's true.
That's probably my favorite. It introduces Altos and Sabitha, who are actually really cool, and I wish they'd stuck around.
We did not talk about Altos a lot, because, like, as a secondary characters go, he really grows on you.
I would rather have Altos and Sabitha than Susan.
There was a point where I was like, take them with you.
Yeah, they're both really cute.
Yeah. Not to each other, just in general.
They made good companions for the serial, and they would have made good companions, I think, if they carried them on.
I was kind of thinking about that a lot this episode, is that it's weird and... not weird, but it's different in Classic Who, where it's like, you have those characters. Like, there's a lot of characters in New Who that are secondary characters where you're like... that you, like, mourn the fact that they're not a companion. Mm-hmm. But it's like, with Classic Who, it's like, we were with them for 5 whole episodes. I missed them. I'm going to miss them when we start the next episode and they're not there. It's kind of neat, I think.
Yeah. And I feel like in this one you definitely had a stronger sense of that because the episodes were so different. It felt like they were carrying on from adventure to adventure. And also, I guess, but at this point in time, they didn't really, like, they probably weren't even thinking about, let's switch out companions at this point.
It is what it is right now.
So, yeah, I really like that because it introduces all that cool stuff. Yeah, the Screaming Jungle is kind of disappointing. It takes too long to, like, set up where everybody's going. It feels the most like a game. Booby traps and solve the puzzle, and it doesn't have much more meat than that.
There's just not a lot going on. There's not a lot of character stuff happening. There's not really a lot of plot happening. I mean,
the drama all feels fake.
And the concept of we've accelerated the
tempo of destruction.
is like barely even really important. Like, it doesn't really add that much of a sense of urgency. It doesn't make that much sense, and it just kind of happens.
The Snows of Terror.
Just a super unsettling. To me, I always like when we have villains in Doctor Who, where it's like, the scariest thing to me are just people who are messed up. Yeah. Who are not in any way kind. That's scary to me.
I would say it's actually my second favorite after the Brains one. It's not my favorite. It would have been my favorite. I feel like it has really good drama. The villain is scary, but then it loses it a little bit in the third act with the cave, because we lose that villain for shitty nights. It loses steam a little bit, but it's really tight, though. I also really like it. But if the villain had been a little more involved in the ending, I would have liked it a little bit better. But though it was cool, like how he threw the rope bridge down, but from that point on, till he comes back in, I kind of lose interest a little bit.
I think that's fair.
Sentence of Death, yeah, I like the idea more than I do the execution.
You don't have the whole, like, it doesn't have the draw for you that it has for me of, this character is in trouble. Yeah. Yes, good.
I like seeing the Doctor as a lawyer, though. It's like it's seeing a courtroom drama done on Doctor Who, and that's kind of interesting. I like that.
I'd like to see more of that in New Who, of just like style parodies.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It didn't really feel like a parody. It felt just like a typical courtroom drama, but with Doctor Who characters in it.
I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
I just felt like it could have done something more with the premise.
It definitely could have done more.
I do think there was too many twists. Like, oh, but it was this guy. Oh, but it was this. But it was this. And like, just get on with it. So
it was kind of hampered with the need to we got to get back to the main plot. I think that kind of hampered it a little bit. Like, I feel like that's weird to say, but...
And that would be actually another problem I have, but with the overall serial. I mean, besides the keys, there's not like a unifying theme.
You've set up this whole, philosophical law and order kind of theme, and then don't really do anything with it. It's like it was almost there throughout it with Ian's trial, and their laws are different, and it's like this super interesting idea that is only touched upon once or twice.
I mean, I guess you could also sort of say you have that with its laws are different, so you have like different laws of nature in that one episode. I don't know how that ties in with Snows of Terror, but you do have like the most immoral character
ever. I mean, he's probably the most immoral character who's been on the show so far. I don't think that's... Well, okay, Daleks. But he's the most immoral, I guess, humanoid.
And then you have, the corrupt, the aliens in a jar. But
it would have been nicer to have seen that as more of like a cohesive theme. And it's like, this is something we're purposefully addressing.
I'm still not entirely sure are all of these places on Marinus? If so...
Why are all the laws different?
Yeah, it seems drastically different.
I don't think they were. I think they were all different planets.
I mean, it could have been different continents. That's actually something that does bug me in some sci-fi, where it's like, we go to a planet where everything is the same, or there's just two tribes and that's it.
There's one culture on the whole planet, and everyone in that culture wears the exact same outfit.
There's at most two tribes. Each one has a very distinct...
These people wear red, these people wear blue.
And we hate each other because of it.
Yeah. For the whole planet.
But yeah, overall, it was a good serial. Pacing is never really an issue because each episode is kind of standalone. Yeah, I liked it. It's up there with Edge of Destruction.
Oh, yeah.
I still think Marco Polo is my favorite so far.
Really?
I liked Tagana, man.
Weirdo. It was alright. It was a good episode, but it's probably better written than some parts of Edge of Destruction or of Keys of Marinus, but it's not as consistently entertaining. You're like, yeah, this is structured well, but I'm bored.
How would you rate this up against Edge of Destruction? This is Edge of Destruction that seems to be your favorite. Have been your favorite so far.
Both good.
Both good?
Both favorites.
Yeah. Alright. So I guess that's it.
We did it.
We did a podcast. Woo!
Yay!
Next time, we'll be back with The Aztecs, which is 4 episodes. So this will be a bit of a break for us. And we'll have a special guest with us, Vincent E.L. He does the theme song for us. Or he did the theme song for us.
Thanks, Vincent.
Yeah, and you'll get to hear him next time.
How much does Vince know about Classic Who?
We'll find out.
Ooh.
That's our cliffhanger.
Oh, man. Fall over now.
Oh!